Welcome to episode 13 of the Arctic Crafts podcast. Today is December 6th, and later I'll be showing you what I'm doing with my advent calendar from Nora George Yarns. But first, where you can find me. I'm on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook as Arctic Crafts by Bente, on Etsy as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. It's not really Christmassy outside. If you watched my Vlogmas last night, you could see that it was raining, and I'm desperately trying to get into the Christmas spirit, so I've started a bit of sneaky decorations just to get in the spirit of things. Maybe we should start with what I'm wearing, because today I'm wearing a beautiful shawl that's called Rødsildre, and that's a Norwegian word. And the fun thing is that the designer is from Canada, and yes, it is Melinda Meeser of the RHYFLOWER knits, and this is my very first collaboration with the designer. She designed this with my yarn, and that's why she decided to give it a Norwegian name, and it's called Rødsildre. It's knit in my 100% soft merino fingering, and the colorway is Virginia Tobacco. It's one of my favorite colorways. I even knit a hat in the same colorway to match this. And that I of course didn't bring that, because that would mean I was prepared for this podcast. I've been doing Vlogmas for the last 6 days. I'm saying 6 because I've already started today's Vlogmas by opening my advent calendar and filming a little bit. I'll be keeping on with that during the day because we're going to Sylcan shopping this afternoon, and I intend to film a bit while we're driving there, because there's some beautiful scenery going to Sylcan. And so this is going to go up on YouTube before today's Vlogmas, because my Vlogmas won't be finished until tonight, so it's going to be late today. And if you haven't been watching my Vlogmas, you are very welcome to do so. I've been having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm actually learning a bit. I'm learning a great deal about the settings on my camera phone, and I think I'm able to relax a bit more in front of the camera. So I think the podcast also will take advantage of me doing Vlogmas. Enough about Vlogmas, because if you want to see Vlogmas, you just have to go to my channel, and there's a special playlist for Vlogmas. And if you haven't seen it yet, the episodes aren't that long, so you still can catch up by starting with day 1. And maybe we should start talking about knitting. I'm not talking about knitting during Vlogmas. I've been filming myself knitting a bit, but I haven't been talking about my knitting, because I wanted to save some content for the podcast, since I'm doing both things parallel. And I'm going to show you my FOs first, that I of course forgot to bring with me. That's why there was a small break in the filming. Sorry about that. You see, I'm still very much a professional. You've seen these as whips in the last episode. And we'll start with Christmas socks. This is my first pair of Christmas socks for the year. I'm planning to do 4 pairs for myself, so you can see I'm basically knitting Christmas socks all the time, apart from my Advent project, of course. This is the pattern is Past the Maple Syrup by RHYFLOWER knits, and the yarn is my Deck the Halls sock set. And I think this is the pair I'm going to use the most because I love the short leg. So that's the first FO. Sorry about that. I almost knocked something over. Again, always professional. And this beautiful pair I'll be saving for Christmas Eve. In case you didn't know, in Norway, Christmas Eve is the big day. Christmas Eve in the evening is when we open all our presents and have all the good food. I know Christmas Day is the big day, basically everywhere else, except from in Scandinavia, I think. If you live somewhere else and Christmas Eve is the big thing, leave a comment below, because I'm actually interested to know. These beautiful socks are knit with turtle pearls, sugar plum waltz, and as you can see, I knit a lot of self-striping, so I want to do something different every now and then. And this is really, really simple. You just slip when you come to a color change. You just slip every 4th stitch, and you knit everything on the next round, and that way you got this zigzag effect when you change colors. I don't do that under the foot because I like the break, and the slip stitches make the knitting a bit, it gets a bit of texture, and I prefer my socks to be smooth under the foot. And that's actually all I have for FOs this week, because I've been knitting on a lot of projects, and I've actually picked up an hibernating whip. I almost forgot about it. I was going through my baskets of whips. I have a basket of hibernating whips, and I have a basket of active whips. Yes, I have a big stash of yarn, but I also have a stash of works in progress. And we can start with whips now, and maybe I'll just start with the other Christmas socks I'm working on. I was talking about I want to make 4 pairs. Those are 2, and this is the 3rd pair, and there's actually a hole so I can show you the finished sock. And this is this year's Christmas colorway from West Yorkshire Spinners. It's not that Christmassy a color, and I think it's called Robin. I'm not sure. We have in Norway we have a different Christmas bird. We have the bullfinch, and it actually has about the same colors as the robin. So this works as a Christmas colorway in Norway as well. We don't have a lot of robins, but we have lots of bullfinches, and bullfinches are a really popular motif on Norwegian Christmas cards. Maybe it's called motif. English is my second language, people. So sorry about that. That's the hoe, and this is knit. Maybe I should tell you, this is knit with an afterthought heel, and as you can see, I haven't used the contrast colorway for the heel, toes, and cuffs on this, because 100 grams of sock yarn is way too much for a pair of socks for me. So I want to use as much of the skein as I can. So this is kind of, I like the effect if you use the self-striping for the heel, because you get this bullseye effect, and that's really fun. So that's, I love their sock yarn because it's really sturdy. So I should knit more socks with West Yorkshire Spinners, but this isn't too Christmassy, so this I might keep using this after Christmas. And this is the second sock. I've just started doing the flat part under the foot, so the heel is going in here. And maybe I should tell you what pattern I'm using. It's RHYFLOWER knits, surprise surprise, and the pattern is called Sylcan. It's not really good to see it on this self-striping yarn because it's a bit busy, but I'll link it down below, as I do with all the other patterns I talk about. And the stitch marker is from Hannah of Corner Craft, and it was her stitch marker for the November Stitch Marker Club. And it matches these socks perfectly, so I had to use that on these. And the fourth pair of Christmas socks I'm knitting is a different colorway from West Yorkshire Spinners, because they put up some of their old colorways as well. And this is the other one I'm going to knit. This is more Christmassy. I think this is not, I think this is the 2017 colorway. And it has a name, I know it has a name, but it doesn't say on the ball band, so sorry about that. I only have a color code. If you can focus, please. That's not happening, is it? Oh, I thought I could make it easier for you to read the color code if you wanted to get it. But it's the Christmas colorway for 2017. Sorry, 2017, I think. Because the 2018 one, the last year one, I think there was some blue in that. And it's not blue, there's not any blue in this. So that's the fourth pair of socks I'm going to knit. And then I'm going to show you the hibernating whip that is back in action, so to speak. And this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. And it's called the Montana Mountain Cowl. And it's a slip stitch pattern. And I think she knitted with, she designed it with spin cycle yarns. I'm not using spin cycle, by the way. Here's another stitch marker from Hannah of Corner of Craft. It's this really fun pink pig. And the yarn I'm using for this is a sober ball. And it's kind of a cheaper version of spin cycle. You get it in two different weights, I think, maybe more, but this is the fingering weight version, and I have a couple of skeins in sport weight that I want to use for a sweater. I'm not sure what sweater yet, but this is what it looks like. And the gray is just a generic cheap yarn. I bought it to make socks, but it's a very light fingering, and I had to use about a 00 needles or something to knit socks with it, and I couldn't be bothered, to be honest with you. So there's a bit of a difference in weight between the two yarns, but I know for a fact that this gray one, what you call it, blooms when it gets washed and blocked, so I think it will even out. This is my Haya Sharps, and both of these yarns are a bit splitty, so I should have used different needles, but I started this on 3.75, and Hayas are the only needles I have in only 3.75 needles I have, because 3.75, all those size needles are not typical Norwegian, so I have to order them online to have 3.75, 2.25 that I use for socks and stuff like that. So that's the whip that's back in action. And now for the really exciting whip, because I haven't got a clue what this is going to look like when it's finished, because it's my advent calendar project. I've been keeping up so far with knitting the entire part with today's color, and I'm knitting, there was a cowl with Nora George's advent calendar this year as a pattern, but it was a pattern made for the 12 days of Christmas, and I had 24 minis, so I decided to pick a pattern that used 24 minis. And I decided to knit the Fade into Advent by Paper Daisy Creations, because it's beautiful. Her her version is a beautiful fade. And last year's advent calendar from Nora George also was a fade. So I'm crossing my fingers that it's going to look good when it's finished. It's got a special construction. You start by knitting a square in the middle, and then you start going out to both sides. So you can see here it's a straight edge, and now I'm going out to the sides, and you have these gorgeous spokes going out from the middle. And I'm on color 6 on this part, and because you are fading it, I'm now working with I think it's 2 colors at the same time on this side, and this side I haven't gotten as far because I have to break the color on this end before I knit on this end. I decided to do it both ways at the same time, that way I have a finished wrap by Christmas, hopefully, if I manage to keep up. But I've decided to not dye any more yarn before Christmas, so I have more knitting time, even though I'm going to bake for Christmas, I'm doing Vlogmas, and I have some cleaning and tidying to do before Christmas. But in the evenings, I have some knitting time in the evenings, because I always try to get all the work done during the day. So when my husband comes home, I'm done for the day, and after dinner we can relax together, and that's when I have the main portion of my knitting time during the day. When I'm dyeing, I also knit a bit, because when you dye yarn, you have blank spaces of time, if I can call it that, while you're waiting for water to heat up, yarn to cool down, for the yarn to soak, everything like that. You have 10 minutes to 15 minutes here and 20 to 30 minutes there, and I always have a knitting project lying in wait, as well as a podcast. I also watch podcasts while I'm dyeing. I just pause when I have to go do something with the yarn, and then when I'm done, I go back and start watching the podcast and knit again. So basically, I have the dream job. I'm knitting for knitting and dyeing yarn, and that's my job now, and I'm loving it. And I have a thank you. I have a shout out to the ladies at Faking Sanity in Canada. They bought some yarn from me, and they gave me an amazing review live on camera. So thank you for that, ladies. I really enjoyed that. Really nice of you. And that's what I have for knitting. I have been knitting a bit on my youngest son's scowl, but he's not coming here until the 4th day of Christmas, because he lives with his father, and we have him every other year for Christmas, every other year for New Year's, and this year it's New Year's. My oldest son is coming for Christmas, but he already got his knitted Christmas present. He got the sweater, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen a picture of him wearing it. And I can put it up here as well, so you can see it if you don't follow me on Instagram. And I'm just checking my show notes a bit. I've told you who... Yes, I've told you that. I have forgotten something that I usually forget, but I'm going to do it now. I usually forget to tell you who made the bags I use. And this beautiful bag is from Busy Pottering, and it's got a perfect shape for this cowl, because it's not too wide, but it's really roomy. And at the bottom I have a soap that I also got from Busy Pottering, because it makes my knitting smell really nice. And this bag had been closed for a long time, so when I opened it I got a proper whiff of the soap. The other bag I didn't tell you about, and this is my newest Christmas bag, and the reason why I bought it is that the fabric. The little people on the print look like Norwegian fjøsnisse. If you don't know what a fjøsnisse is, it's a nisse that lives in your barn, and you have to give him some rice pudding or porridge on Christmas Eve, or he'll do some shenanigans and do things that you don't want him to do. So that's tradition, and it's only in rural Norway, out on the countryside, that you do this. I've been living in the countryside, and we always put out rice porridge for fjøsnissen. And it was always empty on Christmas Day, but we had some cats, so I guess they like rice porridge or something. I always went out to check before I took the boys out, because if it wasn't empty, I had to empty it so they could see that fjøsnissen had eaten his porridge. And I also ordered some stitch markers from Rødsildre when I ordered this bag. By the way, the pattern is also gorgeous. And Rødsildre also sells stitch markers, and she gotten some new ones in that I really loved. I loved everything about them. I'm kind of a Harry Potter fan, who isn't? And these are Harry Potter themed stitch markers. You have I solemnly swear I'm up to no good, mischief managed, platform 9 3/4. You have the sorting hat, and this fun scarf. And everything is, as you see, has its place on this safety pin. So I'm actually considering using this as a brooch. I could, because it would look really nice. But I have a charm bracelet, and I might hang these ones on that, because I really love them. And now I've showed them to you, I can start using them. So that's that. And that's Rødsildre, and I'll, of course, link everything down below. I'll have a spot of coffee. This is a new mug, by the way. I think I have about 5 or 6 of these in different colors. And this is a new color, and it's pastel, really pastel powder pink. And pink. I just have to have pink. Me and pink. And I'll show you what I'm going to put into the shop on Sunday. The last update this year. So it's a large update. Large for me anyway, because I'm a really small batch dyer, so I don't dye big quantities of one colorway. I dye 2 or 3 skeins of a lot of different colorways. And if you want a sweater quantity of my yarn, you just have to pre-order it. I can dye up a sweater quantities of almost any of my colorways. I have a few that's listed as pre-order in my shop, and that's mostly semi-solid colorways, semi-solid and tonals. But I can dye up almost anything in a sweater quantity, so just send me a message on Etsy and we'll see what we can do. This is the update going up to the shop on Sunday. And we'll start with this. And this, of course, is blowing out because it's a really, really pale mauvish pink. Ah, there you can see. This is called Vintage Rose. And I got the inspiration from a bouquet of roses that my mother sent me for my birthday, because they had this gorgeous color that I've never seen on a rose before. It was pale, pale mauve pink. So I just had to dye up some yarn. So that's why there are green speckles and stuff in this, because it's inspired by a rose. So I really love this colorway, and this will probably make a beautiful sweater. So I might dye myself at least a sweater quantity of this. So that's that. And this is a colorway I've dyed up before. You've seen it before. It's called Himmel og Hav. But this time I've dyed it up on Corriedale. The color is a bit darker than you can see on camera, but not much. And it's inspired by Himmel og Hav is Norwegian for sky and sea. But Himmel og Hav sounds better. So that's why it's got a Norwegian name in the shop. It's not called Sky and Sea, it's called Himmel og Hav. That's that. And this is one of my oldest colorways, one of the ones I've been dyeing the longest. And it's a tonal purple with large speckles with magenta. It's kind of more flecks or spots than speckles. And it's called Purple Rain. And I knit a hat with this. That I'm going to show you the hat. I'm just going to pause it. Not only did I fetch the hat, but I also removed my shawl. I'm having what a lady called a personal summer. I got hot. This is the hat I knit with Purple Rain. And this is my favorite hat, and it's the hat I use the most in winter. The pattern is Tied Knots by Justyna Lorkowska. And I have quite a lot of shawls as well with purple and pink, because those are my two favorite colors. So this hat is knit with Purple Rain. I think this is knit in DK. I'm not sure. This is a DK, and the other one I showed you, this is a worsted. So that's that. And I have this. This is one skein and one skein only. I tried a new technique for rainbows, and it's kind of messy. So I decided I wanted to call this a messy rainbow, but it won't get a name when I put it in the shop, because it's a one of a kind, but it will make a really, really fun hat for somebody. And if nobody else wants it, I'll just knit a pride hat or something. And this is also an oldie but goldie that I haven't dyed in a while. And it's first time I dyed this, I decided that it looked like salmon sushi, because it has the darker spots, and it has the white spots, and it has the salmon pink. So this is called Arctic Maki. What else? That's just logic, right? Arctic Maki instead of salmon sushi. This I have another one that I haven't dyed in a while. It's my Knitters Make the Best Friends. And this colorway is inspired by me having a kind of a rough time. And thankfully I told everyone on Instagram and stuff that I was having a rough time, because I got so much support from knitters all over the world. Not just my friends, but strangers. So the black is me having a rough time, and all the colored speckles are all the knitters all over the world that came to my rescue. So the black is going gradually over into the white, and I've knit a pair of socks in this. I'll just put up a picture so I don't have to pause again and go get them, right? So this is Knitters Make the Best Friends. And I of course had to dye up some rock garden, because that's one of my favorites. And this time I've knitted in some really, really extremely soft worsted. It's 100% fine Falkland merino, and it's the softest worsted I've ever felt. And this is my rock garden, and this is Also a colorway I could dye up sweater quantities of. And I have 3 of these skeins, so that's not a sweater quantity, but it's enough for a worsted shawl or something, if you want that. And if you remember my Pac-Man, I've dyed up Pac-Man on worsted. Again, will make a really fun hat. All these single worsted skeins are perfect for hats. So that's why I dye up some really fun colorways on worsted. And I've dyed up some unicorn. What unicorn? On DK. It's more colorful, it's more intense on DK because this yarn takes the color a bit different from the merino fingering. So it's a bit more colorful. And I really love this colorway. I love all these purples and pinks and blues. And I have 2 skeins of a colorway called Silver Lining. It's a new one. It's a gray with a rainbow. And this is merino. I've dyed up, I had a few skeins left on my merino sock yarn. So this is my merino nylon sock yarn. I also dyed it up on Polldale, and I like it a lot more on Polldale. I'm going to take this skein out so you can see the rainbow. There's the rainbow. So when you knit socks with this yarn, you'll get kind of a spirally effect, micro stripes with rainbows. And because that sounded so cool, I caked up a skein. That's the beauty about being a yarn dyer. You can just help yourself. I of course have to pay for it because I paid for the undyed yarn, so this goes out of my pocket as well. But I just needed to try this in a pair of socks. And because the main color is grey, I think I'm going to knit a pair of socks for my oldest son in this, because he loves colors, but again, he's a grown man, so maybe grey with rainbow. So I'm going to cast on a pair of socks for him, and I'm going to knit them vanilla to see properly what the colorway looks like. And I'll keep you posted on Instagram and on this podcast next Friday. I'm probably going to cast these on this weekend. I have loads of socks on the needles. I have my Christmas socks. I have another pair of socks I'm knitting up in Himmel og Hav to make use as a sample, but this looks really fun, so I think I have to cast them on. And there's one more colorway that I dyed up, and this was just for fun, but I love it. It's so beautiful. It's really, really, really beautiful. And there's only 3 different colors in this, but they've kind of blended together, so it's really beautiful. And in Norway we have this ice lolly, I think you call it, called Lollipop, and it has these colors. So that's why this yarn is called Lollipop. And I just did it for fun. I have 3 skeins. This is on Corridale, and it got a name, and it's now written up in my recipe book because I'm dyeing up more of this. It depends. If nobody buys anything, if nobody buys these skeins, I may not dye up more for a while, but it's in my recipe book. And I have one more thing to show you that I forgot to show you when I showed you the bags. I'm just going to get it because it fell on the floor. When we were in Tromsø, one of my favorite stores in Tromsø is called Lego Loftet. And you heard the first part, Lego. They have an entire floor just with Lego. That sounds amazing, but it's a really tiny store, and it's really, really packed with they have some comic books, both vintage and new, and they have some old books. They have a room just with old books, and on the second floor they have all their Lego, but they also have lots of merchandise, Harry Potter, Dungeons and Dragons, everything like that. And I'm a Ravenclaw, by the way. I of course had to do the sorting on the, what's it called, Pottermore, and I'm a Ravenclaw. And as you can see, I bought myself an early Christmas present. I may use this as a project bag, but I'm not sure. I really love it. They had of course they had all 4 houses, but because it was for me, I bought Ravenclaw. And that's the show and tell, and because I have quite a busy day ahead of me, this episode might be, as I was saying the last time, this might be short and sweet. I have some Christmas baking planned, so I'm writing a shopping list for later today that entails both things I need for the shop and things I need for Christmas, and ingredients for quite a lot of baking. And the baking will probably be included during Vlogmas. So again, if you want to follow me on Vlogmas, please do. And if you subscribe to my channel and click the little bell, you get a notification when I post a Vlogmas episode or a podcast episode. So please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like what I do. If you don't like what I do, don't give me a thumbs down, just stop watching me. That's the easiest way for me. If you don't like this, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to give me a thumbs down. Just stop watching the podcast. Hopefully this will get, as you can see, I messed up my clean and tidy kitchen counter, but this is going to be removed as soon as I'm finished with the podcast. And I think that's it for today. Maybe next Friday I'll have more knitting to show you. I do think I have some yarn on its way, and I have to open. I can't show you any minis from the advent calendar because they're all active in use, and I may tell you one of the reasons why I chose to knit the Fade into Advent is because it uses the entire 20 gram skeins, mini skeins. Last year I knit the cowl. It's a beautiful cowl. It was included in the Advent from Nora George, but I only used 10-12 grams of each mini, so I had 8 to 10 grams left of each color. I gifted the entire thing to a good friend of mine, but this year I'm using everything because I have some minis. As you can see, I have some minis. I have more minis than these, but this jar is full, so I had to put the rest of my minis elsewhere. And now I have to stop rambling. You can see I babble on. And my husband calls me the epilogue woman because I start to finish this podcast several times before I actually do. So, with a nod to hubby, yes, I'm the epilogue woman today too. I'll just call it a day, edit this, and get on with everything else I should do today. Bye!